today's practice is going to be a stillness practice. And so grab maybe a couple of blankets, a pillow or a couch cushion or something to use as a bolster, and maybe a block if you have one. Hmm. And once you get all the things gathered, we're just going to sit and check in. So once you find a seat, you're welcome to soften your gaze or allow your eyes to close and just notice the body breathing. And allow what you notice about the body breathing to give you information about how you are in this moment. Maybe soften the muscles of the face. And just give a moment for the snow globe that is, your state physically, mentally, emotionally to settle. I recently taught a class, a movement class, but a gentle floor-based movement class where I talked about this idea of stillness being something that we take with us off of the mat. So it's not necessarily the absence of movement in that sense. And it's like building a muscle. It takes a little practice of connecting with this idea of stillness and really embodying stillness and feeling it in a felt sense way to then be able to carry it into life. So that's what we're going to practice today. But before we do, we're just going to move a little bit. So the next time your breath moves in, find some gentle movements of the shoulders. Maybe take the shoulder blades up and back and down. And then maybe allow the spine, as you take the shoulder blades up, find a little bit of a back bend. And as you take the shoulder blades down, find a little bit of a forward bend. Just checking in with the body. Last breath like this here. Then come back to what feels pretty neutral in the body. Take your hands to your hips and feel like you're lifting your rib cage up away from the pelvis. And take a couple of deep breaths into the side body. Then from here, take the arms out, bend at the elbows, allow the hands to rest wherever they rest. You can keep the elbows lifted or drop them down any amount so that your shoulders feel comfortable. And then we're just going to rotate a little bit from side to side. You can move with the breath, or you can just move with sensation. You could move slowly, or maybe move a little more smoothly. Last breath here. From here, come back to center, take your legs out and just give them a wiggle. A little back and forth, a little up and down, maybe a rolling of the ankles. And then we're going to set up for our first posture of stillness. So I recommend using a block on the flattest setting and taking your couch cushion or bolster or pillows. If you have pillows, you might need to use a couple of them. If a bolster, if a block is too hard for the pillows, then you might need to use a rolled blanket underneath instead. My recommendation here is to use something to support your head, like a blanket. And then if you have a second blanket, we're going to use it on the knees. So sit with your hips backing up to your support. Maybe a blanket over the knees. We're going to keep the knees bent. And then laying back in any way that's comfortable. So it kind of depends on what you're leaning back on. So find a way of laying back that allows you to have your arms supported, where your torso is supported. And if you don't have an extra blanket for the knees, then maybe walk your feet wide enough and far away enough from the body that the legs are kind of suspended and you're not using muscle to hold. And I don't know if you probably can't hear that on the mic, but my stomach just gave a big growl. My parasympathetic nervous system is waking up. So once you find a way of being in the body that's as comfortable as you can expect, can you soften into it? Noticing the breath maybe in the back body towards the support that's under you. Again, allowing the muscles of the face to soften. Feeling the feet on the earth, the hips on the earth, the arms. And notice where in your body could you use some stillness. It might be the mind. It might be tight shoulders or a hip. It might be something more subtle like the endocrine system or something like that. Wherever it is, imagine that you have nostrils there. And whether it's the mind or a hip or your endocrine system, that those nostrils are just breathing in and breathing out. And as you breathe in and out through these imaginary nostrils, can you find a softer way of being? And then let that imagery go and just be with the felt sense of the body breathing, of this gentle ebb and flow. We'll be here for maybe 2 more minutes before we shift. Become aware of the body breathing and aware of the sensation of being held and supported. Maybe allow the corners of the mouth to turn up slightly towards a smile. If you had a blanket over the knees, just gently draw it back, maybe over the hips and belly, and walk your feet as wide as a mat. And slowly begin to rock the legs side to side, just very gentle. And then if it feels good, take your gaze in the opposite direction of the legs. So if your legs are moving to the right, gaze to the left. If the legs are moving to the left, gaze to the right. And yes, this is a transition, but this is also a moment to experience nourishing yourself, a moment to be in, like this is the thing right now. So notice if you're rushing through, just allow yourself to be. We're going to be here for a few more breaths. You're welcome to be still versus the rocking if that's not feeling good in your body. Then make your way back to center. Take the hands and rub the palms gently together. When there's a little warmth in the hands, take the palm of the hands to cover the eye so that there's a gentle pressure on the bone around the eye. Take one, maybe two breaths here. And release your arms. From here, kind of make your way over to one side to press yourself up. For this next shape, there are options, and it depends on what you have. We're going to have the hips lifted up. I recommend using your pillow or cushion and or a blanket kind of folded in the shape of like a bolster. However, I recommend having a blanket underneath you. If you're on a carpeted surface, that can serve as a blanket, so you don't necessarily need to do this part. But if you're like me and you're on a hard floor, we use a blanket to soften the surface a little bit. And then have your bolster, pillow, cushion, or a blanket folded like a bolster. There's a couple of ways to get into this shape. One way is to lay down first and then slide the cushion or pillow underneath you. The other way is to start sitting on the cushion or pillow and then just make your way back to the mat. However you get here, the whole pelvis should be supported. If you have a second blanket, options here, you could take it across your hips, or again, having it over the knees can be really nice. Depending on the height of your cushion or blanket, you might, if it's not as high as a yoga bolster, you might be able to take the legs out long, but for most, if it's the same thickness as a yoga bolster, it might not be so comfortable to have the legs out long. Here, the arms can be up overhead or out wide, or elbows wide and hands on the body. Once you get set up, make sure that you can feel your feet, feel your hips, the shoulders, the back of the head. And visualize the breath moving, if the knees are bent, from the knees down to the shoulders. If the legs are straight, imagine the breath moving from the feet to the shoulders and back. And notice if the breath kind of moving in one direction, just how it feels different than the breath moving in the other direction. Allow the jaw to release, the muscles of the face to be soft, the belly and the pelvic floor here to be soft. And again, we'll be here for a couple of minutes in quiet, just connecting with stillness, both the absence of movement and stillness more as a state of being. Become aware again of the body breathing. Allow the edges of the mouth to curl up towards a smile. Then, when you're ready from here, if you have a blanket over the knees, again, slide it towards the belly. Depending on what's under your hips, you might need to roll to one side to adjust your position. Since I just have a yoga bolster, I'm going to lift my hips up and push the bolster down towards my feet. The idea being that the cushion or pillow will end up under the knees or a little higher so that you can rest your heels on something soft, ideally. You're welcome to keep the blanket across the hips or open it up and cover up with it. If you feel like you have any wiggles that need to get out before becoming still again, maybe rocking the head side to side or taking a full body stretch or any other movements, Now is the time to take them. And you can have any arm position that you like here, anything that feels comfortable in the body that helps the jaw, the neck, and shoulders to soften. Gently draw the back of the head up along the floor so that the chin drops ever so gently towards the chest. Allow the jaw to completely soften, almost like you were going to drool. It's so relaxed. And notice, what is it about this practice, this moment, this felt sense that you would describe as the experience of stillness. And maybe it's helpful to think of this this thing we might call stillness, this way of being. Maybe give it a color or a texture, or even just a word, something that feels a little tangible that you could call to mind later when you're in life off of the mat. And whatever that more tangible thing is to you, whether it's a color, a texture, a word, imagine it washing over you. So, for example, if your color is purple, imagine purple kind of washing over you from head to toe, or the texture, or a word. And as it does, imagine every cell is happily lapping it up, embracing it, remembering. And again, one last time, we'll be here for a couple of minutes in quiet. Become aware again of the body breathing. Deepening the breath as if you could breathe towards the fingers and toes. And finding gentle movements in the head and neck and the hands, the feet, the arms, the legs. Maybe open and close the jaw a couple of times. If you haven't already, you might blink the eyes, gently open. Eventually, you might take a full body stretch or bend your knees, placing them on the cushion. Finding any movements that feel delicious. You're welcome to end our time in a lying down position. If you want to come back into a seat, slowly make your way in that direction. And find a comfortable way of being with a soft gaze or allowing your eyes to close. And noticing how you are in this moment, how your snow globe is faring. Noticing the body, the movement of breath, and anything else that's present. And thinking about how to draw this into life off of the mat, how to bring it with you, how to reconnect to it when it's needed. And we'll take some final breaths together here. Allow your next breath to move in through the nose and out through the nose. Again, breathing softly in through the nose and softly out. Last breath, deep inhale through the nose. Exhale out of the mouth. Namaste.